If I start the procurement cycle that comes under accounts payable section of our Accountrak ERP, we can see that under accounts payable section we have some setup forms like supplier details. From this form we can add all the details of a supplier, like if I find an existing supplier, and I can add a new supplier as well. The fields with red asterisk marks are mandatory fields, so I have to select the group name and the company name of the supplier, and I will select suppliers from parent account because I am adding the supplier details. So the parent accounts is liability and suppliers. It will generate an automatic code for the supplier. I will provide the name of the supplier and a 5-digit abbreviation of that supplier. The maximum characters can be 5. I can add less than that. I will add a full description of a supplier if I want, and I can select a default site to which the supplier belongs, if any. All the other fields are optional, and the user can leave them blank if want. You just have to select the purpose of the supplier. He is used for purchasing, payments and quotations, and if the supplier is taxable, we will select the taxable check and we can save the supplier information. I can find existing suppliers from the list, and I can change the details of the suppliers if I want. Here's the supplier which I've added. I can sort the columns by clicking the header name, and if I click the select button, it will bring me the details about the supplier. Then we have the contractor details. It is almost the same as supplier. The contractors will be used to create the contracts. They are also under the same category of suppliers, but their parent account will be contractor. Here is the record which I have added. I can select purchase and payments. I will not get quotations from the contractors. And after that, if we move on to transaction cycle, we have direct purchasing cycle, in which we can create a purchase order without any requisition, or we don't need any quotations to purchase an item. Let's say we want to purchase the water bottles for our guests on urgent basis, and we don't need any requisition or approval of it, so we will create a direct purchase order. We will enter a purchase order number, and we will select the date of purchase. We will select the supplier from whom we are buying or purchasing the items. We will select the site making the purchase order. We will select the currency of the purchase order and its exchange rate in local currency. The terms of purchase can be cash or credit. The purchase type is local. The item type we are purchasing is local. We can add optional remarks and fields on it if we want, and we can select the items from this list. If this list seems too long, we have a filter of item category. If we select capex item, this list will show me the list of capex items only. And if I change it from capex to, let's say, electrical supplies, it will show me the list of electrical items in my inventory list. I can change it to office supplies, or even to stationery items if I want. I can select the item from this list if I want. Or I can browse the items. Here is the complete list of items. I can filter the items by typing its name with percentage sign. This percentage sign will act as a asterisk, and all the item names containing paper will be filtered in the list. I select toilet papers. I am going to purchase 10 rolls of toilet paper, and the price of it is, let's say, 80 AFN, and this 80 multiplied by 10 is 800. So this purchase order is of 800 AFN. And I can select more than one items if I want in a single purchase order. Let's say if I am purchasing air freshener as well from the same supplier on the same purchase order, 2 air fresheners at the rate of 250, that makes 500 AFN for the air fresheners. So the total purchase order now worth 1300 AFN. This purchase order is by default open, and once all receiving will be done, it will be closed automatically. The transaction is saved successfully. Now I have to post this transaction before it can be processed further. I can see this unposted transaction in my unposted data because this user has the rights to post the data as well. That's why he can see the details of this purchase order. He can even make changes to it before posting. Once it is posted, you cannot edit it. None of the users can edit it. So I can just select and post it, and this transaction is locked. Here I can see this purchase order is posted. Now if I want to receive the goods against this particular purchase order, I have to go to direct receiving details. I will enter a gate pass number on which the items are received. If I don't have a gate pass number available, I can copy the transaction number from above field into gate pass number. Then I will select the PO number against which I am receiving the goods. Only those POs will appear here against which the deliveries are still pending. Once all the deliveries are done, the purchase order will be closed automatically and it will not appear in the list of receiving here. I selected the purchase order, and now all the relevant fields are filled automatically, like purchase by PO date, supplier, its site. I have to select the condition of items received. I select the store where I received the items. I select the condition, and this item is received in head office store against this purchase order number on this date. All the details are filled. Now I have the PO quantity of 10 and 2, and I am receiving 10 and 2, so my balance quantity is now 0, and I can add other relevant fields if I want to. These are all optional fields. Only fields with red color are mandatory. So 12 is the total quantity I am going to receive against this purchase order, and when I will save it, it will successfully generate a transaction number, and this purchase order is received successfully. I have to post the direct receiving detail so that the transaction became locked and our stocks can be updated. So that's how we complete the direct purchase cycle. Then we have the procurement cycle, which starts with the requisition. A department or a user generates a requisition for a particular asset or a capex item. First you will select the site which is making the requisition, then we select the requested site which is requesting us for a particular item, the department which has requested it, and its section like information technology and network section has requested it, and the user who has requested is Mr. Abdullah, and he has requested it to Mr. Qurban, and this is a purchase requisition. General requisition is usually used for inventory item, while purchase requisition is used for capex item purchase. I can enter the remarks if I like any. Purchase requisition will be part of approval cycle, while general requisitions will not be the part of approval cycle. No approval will be required on general requisitions. So now I am selecting the item which the IT and network departments want. Let's say they have requested for router, and they need one router that should be new, and its estimated price in market is 4000 AFN. And when I will click the refresh list button, it will calculate the amount, total amount, that is 4000, because the quantity is 1. If I change the quantity to 2 and refresh the list again, now the net amount becomes 8000, because 2 into 4000 is 8000. So this requisition is of 8000 AFN, and the information technology department needs it by 1st of June 2017. They should enter the name of the user or department who will use it. If they want, they can add the status of old item, and this requisition will be saved. If anything will be missing, the system will generate the alert automatically. Now the user will post the purchase requisition so that it should be locked and goes for approval cycle. Now this user has made the requisition, and now it will enter the approval cycle. So the authorized user logs into his system, and he can see that a requisition is required approval from him. He can see the details of that requisition, who generated it, from which department it's been sent, and what item and quantity is required. Total stock is 0 right now, and the requested quantity is 2, and approved quantity is 2 by default. The requested quantity is equals to approved quantity by default. The approval authority can change this quantity. He can view the requisition, that this requisition was for 2 items of 8000 AFN. Depending on this requisition, he can approve or reject it. Let's say he is approving it, and he saves the transaction. Now this authority has approved it, so it will go. Now he don't has any approvals left, so this approval has now gone to second level of approval, that is Mr. Y. And now when Mr. Y will log into his system, he can see an approval awaiting his turn. He can see there are 2 approvals. Let's see. Okay, he can see the requisition status, and he can see the previous status of the requisition, that the previous user has approved it on so and so date with so and so user ID and the PC name and the IP of the PC. So he can be sure that the right authority has approved it. He can also approve or reject it. He can even change the approved quantity before saving it. Once the approval is done by both authorities, it will come back to the user who has originally generated it, and he can see the requisition approval, and he can post it. He can see the details of it, and he can even see the report. The report will show that which authorities have approved it and on which date and time, and from their IDs and PC names. So he can be sure that all the approval authorities have approved it. Now he can post this requisition so that it can be proceeded further for requisition grouping. Now we can make the group of requisitions. Multiple requisitions can be grouped into one requisition to a supplier. Alike items can be grouped into one requisition, and we can select or send it to preferred supplier if any. This field is not mandatory, So if even you won't select the preferred supplier, the system will not stop you. You just have to select the site which is creating the group, just select the asset or item name and enter its group quantity, which can be less or equal to approved quantity, and it will create a group of requisition, and then the user will post the purchase requisition group so that quotations can be gathered against this particular requisition. Now we will make the quotations for this requisition. A requisition can have more than one quotations against it. If we find, we will see only those requisitions which are yet not purchased. So last quoted price was 4500 AFN. Now the supplier X has quoted us in let's say this supplier has quoted us in AFN, and the credit limit is 30 days and his quotation is valid up till 10th of June. All the other details are not mandatory, so we will enter the price he has quoted, the vendor has quoted. Let's say he has quoted 4500 for this item, and total price will be 9000 because the quantity was 2. So we will save this quotation. Now we will make another quotation for the same requisition. This quotation is from a different supplier. Let's say the second supplier has quoted us, his requisition validity is up till 30th June, and he has quoted us, let's say 4200 AFN, and the total amount will be 8400 for 2 items. And now we will make a third quotation for the same requisition, so we can have a comparative bid summary. We can add more than 3 quotations as well, or even one quotation can be gathered against a particular requisition. This third supplier has quoted 4300 for the 2 items, and that is 8600. Now we save this quotation as well. Now if we find any of the quotation out of the 3, these last 3 quotations are for the router and by Kanaat New Tech in a year. If you select any of the quotation and we will see the report, it will show us the comparative bid summary that IT department requested for so and so item, and these 3 vendors have quoted this price. Now the authorities can take the decision from whom they want to purchase this item. Let's say they want to purchase it from New Tech, so they will select the quotation of New Tech. This is not the quotation of Tech, so they can find the quotation from Tech. This was the quotation of them, and they will select approved against it. So Tech's requisition quotation is approved against this requisition, and now only this quotation will proceed further and the other 2 quotations will be rejected automatically. So now the user can post the quotation after their approval. Now on purchase order, we can select the requisition quotation reference, and all the other information will be filled automatically, like who is the supplier and which currency he has quoted in, and the terms are credit or cash. The purchase type is local, the item type is local, and 2 pieces were required at the rate of 4200 AFN, and we just have to select the site who is purchasing it. If I won't select the site, the system will generate the alert automatically that please select any site. I will select the site and enter any PO number for our internal purpose. If we don't have any PO number available, we can enter the transaction number here, and I have generated a PO, that is 3. PO number 3 is generated. Now I will post this PO so that it becomes locked, and now we will receive the goods against this particular purchase order number. Now I will select the PO number from the list. Only those PO will appear in this list against which the delivery is still pending. Once all the delivery will be made, this PO will be closed automatically. I will enter a gate pass number against which I have received the goods, its receiving date, and I will select the condition of goods received, and I will select the location. I will select the quantity type. Either I am going to stock it on the base of received quantity or QC pass quantity, where I will store this item in head office store. PO quantity was 2. I have received none yet. Now I am receiving 2, and my balance quantity is now 0. I have received both, and my QC quantity is also 2. It means my quality check department has approved 1, let's say, then 1 will be rejected, and if the quality check department has approved both, then rejected quantity is 0. I can fill the other relevant fields if I need, and then total quantity received is 2, and I can save this receipt. Now my purchase order is completely received, so now it will not appear in the list of receiving POs. After that, we can create the bill of supplier. When the supplier will provide us the invoice of it, we can create the bill for the supplier. We just have to enter an internal bill number, and as we will select the supplier, all the pending deliveries which are yet to be billed will appear here. These are the good receipt notes which we have received, but the supplier is billing us now. So we will enter the supplier's invoice number and the date of his invoice, date appearing on supplier's invoice, and the quantity he has mentioned in the invoice against the particular delivery, and the amount he has quoted. And we will select this receiving, and it will show us that the supplier has sent us a bill of 8,400 against a particular receiving. AIB head office is the site who is creating this bill, and when we will save it, a bill will be generated in the accounts department, and they will handle the payments from there on. Now when Mr. Other user will log in, he can see 2 fixed assets are automatically created in his list because the items we received were capex items. That's why they are inserted into fixed asset register. All the details are filled here automatically. The user don't have to make any changes to it. He can fill all the other details available for that asset, like its serial number, its make, model, anything like that. The financial impact is already into the asset register upon its purchase, and he can update the asset details in his asset register. So that's how an asset is created in asset register through procurement cycle. We have seen 2 assets are created in asset register upon receiving of purchased item. The fixed asset user has posted these entries, so 2 assets are now part of our asset register. Now if we proceed further with procurement cycle, we have purchase contracts. Against contracts, we can receive item on periodic basis. For that, we need to create a contract. Let's say we have created a contract on so and so date with so and so contract number with the selected contractor. This is our contract expiry date on which the contract will expire, and after this date we cannot receive any goods against this particular contract number. So the contractor has made the contract in AFN, and the below mentioned items are the part of this contract, that he will supply us so and so quantity of these items at the rate of which is mentioned here in the contract, and the quantity is fixed or can be variable. Fixed means he cannot send us more than the quantity agreed, and variable means we can ask for more quantity than contracted quantity. We have the contract for 100, but we can procure more than 100 as well if needed. This transaction is already posted, so I cannot make any changes to it. Then we can receive items against a particular contract on periodic basis. We can select the contract number. All the details will appear automatically. I just have to select that condition of goods received. The contract is generally made against inventory item or non-capex item. This is the contracted quantity, and now I am entering the received quantity, that how much I am receiving on a particular date, and receiving number. Let's say I have received 3. Where I will receive it, I will select the head office store, and 3 items are received. I haven't entered any gate pass number, so I should mention a gate pass number here. If I don't have a gate pass number, I can copy my transaction number in gate pass, and I have received so and so items against the contract. Now I can post this contract receiving so that my stock list can be updated, and this part has hit my inventory item, and it has updated my stock balances for a selected store. Now when I will select the contractor, all the pending bills of the contractor will appear here. I can select any of the bill, and I can enter the supplier or contractor's invoice number, his invoice date, and the quantity mentioned in the invoice against the particular item, and the amount he has charged for that item. Again, I am entering the supplier invoice number, its date, invoice quantity, and the amount mentioned in the invoice. Same for the third item, invoice quantity and its amount. And here it shows that total amount due was 99, and the supplier has invoiced 99 AFN. I saved this bill. Now the bill is created. I have to post it, and the accounts department will look after this bill from hereafter. So my purchase contract is done. Now I can make other contracts. This other contracts can be of a maintenance contract, of a service contract, through which I can perform different activities. I am creating a contract. I have entered a contract number. I have given a contract date, the contract expiry date. Let's say the expiry of this contract is next year, so I will select the date of expiry. I will select the contract type, contractor name, site which is creating this contract, the currency in which this contract is made. Let's say if this contract is made in USD or AFN, the terms are credit. And now here I can enter the description to mention on the contract. I can here enter the amount of contract, that will be the total amount of contract, and here I will mention the invoicing frequency, that on which frequency the supplier or contractor will invoice us. I saved this contract, and now I can find and print this contract as well if I want. Here I can see that this contract is in AFN 2000, and this is the description of the contract. This is the contractor name, this is the contract amount, and here are the signatures if required. This could be an official document, and now I can post this contract so that billing can be generated against this contract. As the frequency of billing was yearly, so only one invoice will be generated against it of 2000 AFN. Which site is generating this invoice or received it? Enter the invoice number or bill number received from the supplier or contractor, the date of invoice or bill. Here again we will enter the invoice number if we have multiple invoices. And we will enter optional details if we want, and then we can save this bill so that accounts department can clear the dues of that selected contractor. So after other contract we have debit notes or purchase return. If you want to return any purchase item to the selected supplier, we have three types of purchases: normal purchase, contract based purchase, or direct purchase. Direct purchase, first I need to select the store. Okay, from this store I will out my item. If I select the direct purchase, all the direct purchase order will appear here against which I have done the receiving. If I select contract purchase, all the contract purchase orders or purchase contracts will appear here. And if I select normal purchase, all the purchases I have done through requisition procedure will appear here. Let's say I have selected this purchase order from New Cable Tech. I had purchased 2 routers few minutes ago, and now I am going to return because one of them is damaged, and I will select the delivery quantity. It will not accept it because it's a fixed asset item, and we cannot make a debit note of fixed asset item because asset rejection form is available in fixed assets module. If we want to return a fixed asset, we can only make debit notes for inventory items. So almost all the requisition based purchases are for fixed assets, so we will select a normal purchase, contract based purchase. I have selected a contract, and now let's say this PO quantity was 1. I am delivering 1 back because it's damaged, and I will save it, and it has generated a purchase return of extension cord to the particular supplier. I will post this debit note, and now the transaction is locked. We have all the reports available in the reporting section. We can view any report on need basis. All the reports are in form of summary and details. Here is a report for purchase requisition status summary, that what is the status of requisitions. For now a filter is applied on it, so I will clear the filter first, so all the purchase requisition status can be seen. Here is the status of all the purchase requisition. All the purchase requisitions are already approved. If any are rejected or pending, it will show you under a group of pending or rejected requisitions. So total 5 requisitions have been approved by multiple authorities.